If you haven't already, please grab a cup of coffee and join me in welcoming this morning's presenter, Ryan Appleby, and Do-It-Yourself Health.
Each one of you possesses the unique ability or the unique solution to your optimal health. Instead of looking externally, let me show you where the true answers lie within yourselves. My name is Ryan Appleby, and I'm the founder of Insight Technologies, formerly known as Do-It-Yourself Health. So I've been in the personal training industry for almost 10 years. And in this time, I've really come to realize the flaws that are within the weight loss or the health and fitness industry, which has been very frustrating because it makes it so difficult to truly make the impact that I want to have. But in addition to that, it's very saddening to see all of these people needlessly suffer trying to achieve their health and fitness goals. So my mission is twofold. I want to give people the true health that they deserve. Also, I want to disrupt the industry. I want to improve people's health by empowering them to take charge of their own health, which will therefore take away the opportunity for all of these people to be taken advantage of with all of the gimmicks and essentially BS that is out there in the industry. So what are these problems that I speak of? When it comes to the information that we get, you have the disinformation, essentially the snake oil, the magical pills, and on the other end of the spectrum, you have conflicting information. Experts are telling you, hey, this is good for you one day, and the next day, hey, this stuff is bad for you, in addition to just arguing amongst themselves. And all of this information is based upon a flawed foundation. For example, the whole calorie in, calorie out model, it's outdated. Doesn't work, never has. It needs to go. Something needs to change. In addition to that, a lot of companies are still using a model of, hey, I found something that worked for me, and so it must work for everyone else too, and so I'll develop this model that everyone can conform to. That's not how it works. So what I'm doing is the opposite. I am creating a model that conforms to the user instead of the other way around. With the right amount of data and machine learning, I can figure out what is going on with each individual person. And with that, let the person know, hey, this is what's going on and why. So these are your options on how we can start tackling this problem. And so an example of this would be, you've been using the system for a while, and so, hey, John, all right, we've been tracking that consistently when your breakfast consists of, let's say, over 60 grams of simple carbohydrates, you can see these drops in your energy levels throughout the day. It affects your mood in this way, it affects your exercise in this way, and it also affects your sleep in this way. So what we should do is, let's modify your breakfast a little bit. Let's add a little more protein and a higher amount of fat within your breakfast. Okay, so here are some suggested options. Maybe eggs and avocado, bulletproof coffee, or yogurt and nuts. Something of that nature where we're guiding the person into making the right choices that work within their lifestyle. And how I kind of went into that example is, instead of tackling all of these things individually, if we correlate all this data together, we can figure out what is going to be the most effective thing to do. Essentially applying the 80-20 principle of finding the very simple things that have the most profound impact. Okay, so how does this work? Without going into a lot of detail due to the limited amount of time, I want to give you an example of what is currently in the industry, which is the body fat scale. It uses bioimpedance technology, where you step on it, takes your weight, sends a small current through your body, and gives you, here's your estimated body fat percentage. That is what I want to replace. Essentially, upgrading that process, but then taking that data, correlating with other data, and giving usable information to that person so they can make effective lifestyle changes. The current competition in the market, the most direct competition that I will have are products called the Sculpt Chisel, Body Metrics, and then like the body fat scale that I was talking about is considered a bioimpedance analysis device. So that is what I'm currently up against. Other indirect things that would essentially compete with me is, the typical weight scale, because that's what people are currently using to track progress. And so I want to change that by giving them real, accurate, valuable data to not only track their progress, but to help them make better choices. Currently, I am in the process of seeking funding to develop my MVP or minimal viable product to get into the marketplace. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, I've drained my savings in creating a functional prototype that isn't even that functional. And so I realized, hey, that is not where I should spend all my resources into. I need to just go for it. The proof of concept is already out there in the marketplace today. And so what I need to do is raise the funds to actually build that MVP, to get it out there and start testing it. So the first milestone is developing that MVP, and which will then get me to the second milestone, which is getting in the hands of personal trainers, and developing the product. Then, and this is all in the ideal world, then I will compete in the Minnesota Cup, become a finalist, which will start the promotion of my product and my company. Hopefully by that time, I will be able to be ready to talk to manufacturers and getting ready for mass production. And then finally, I would like to have a booth at CES 2017 for promotion of my product and company, while at the same time launching a crowdfunding campaign to again further the promotion of my product, but then initiate the funds. Thank you much for your time. I appreciate you all risking your lives to come out here today to hear what I have going on.
For our audio, I'd like to bring the microphone around to any of the questions here.
I got a really quick question. Why did I miss something? Do you have a prototype?
Yes and no. I have a lookalike prototype and a prototype that, so yes and no, it's not a fully functional prototype, but variations of it, like a lookalike, and it kind of works like prototype, if that answers your question.
So I'm a little bit confused about the whole concept. So you said you wanted to use data to drive information, to bring awareness to somebody's habits, and then drive changes to those habits. The prototype you're talking about is some sort of scale. Is there some sort of device that you're trying to create in order to collect data, or is it more of a process?
Yes, and my apologies for not being clear on that. I am trying to pack a lot of information into a short presentation. And so yes, there is going to be a physical device that does collect objective data. And the best example that I can give of what I am creating is the body fat scale that I used in the example. So what I'm trying to do is essentially that, but better. I don't want to give away too much into what I'm doing. And I am in the prosecution process with my utility patent, but I still don't know what I do and do not have covered. It is a technology that is already in use, and it does work. I'm just using it in a slightly different way. Hopefully that answers your question enough.
I'm sorry. Do you need? Oh, you do? Oh, sure. Do you have to get FDA approval for your device?
No,
Why not?
it's not a medical device.
Can you talk a little bit about the revenue stream? Are you selling a piece of hardware, or is it software and some sort of subscription service, or is it ongoing professional support, or a combination of all of the above?
Excellent
None of
question.
the above?
Excellent question. And it's pretty much a yes across the board. So revenue would be on a smaller scale based off of device sales, but where I want to emphasize the business model on is a monthly subscription service, where, to put it very simplistically, what you're paying for is the most advanced, objective personal trainer out there. Essentially, artificial intelligence or machine learning, the program, software algorithm, whatever you want to call it, is you're paying a monthly subscription for that service. What was the question again? There's a few things you said, and I wanted to make sure I touch base on all of them.
Is somebody also buying hardware, or is that part of the license included in the subscription service?
So let's say you were to buy my system or products and services. What you would do is buy the physical device, and then there would be a free version available, but then I'm also going to have a tiered subscription service where ideally you would subscribe to that, and the system would include the physical device, mobile app, and online platform. Did that answer your question?
Have you identified how much information you can share about your intellectual property, like what your product is and how you can explain it? Because even if there was someone in this room right now who has mad connections in the VC arena or among like the health and fitness arena, you haven't shared enough information to ever be relevant to us in conversations with other people. Like, I don't know what your device is. I don't know enough about what it does. And if your patent is already in prosecution, then it's been filed. That means that you have the patent pending. If I'm not mistaken, someone stop me if I am.
You're correct.
So, the chances of someone wanting to steal your idea when you're this far along in the process are so much smaller than the potential benefit of being able to create conversations by empowering people with an understanding of what you're doing. So, the question again, have you identified how much information you can share with whom?
The patent attorney that I'm working with hasn't given me a very clear answer on that because, well, based off of what they've heard back, we haven't yet heard back from the USPTO, the first, let's say, iteration of the prosecution, essentially saying, you can't have A, B, and C, but let's work on, D, E, and F. So I don't have a clear answer from let's say, a legal professional on what I can and cannot talk about. Did you ask that question because you want to understand more about what the physical device does?
Yeah, it's supposed to help with health by giving me information about my physiology, but how
Yep.
it goes about that, like there's so many things that do that. You told me your category, you haven't told me your angle. I need more detail about how your device works in order to understand your unique angle and why I should care
Okay.
about you more than any other system.
All right. What the physical device is going to objectively measure is body fat storage in a different way. Well, I could say in a different way, but yet in the same way as other devices on the market. So my biggest advantage is that I'm going to be much more accurate, but on top of that is repeatably accurate, because that's a rabbit hole I can really run down for a while.
Well, that might be enough. So what you're telling me is that the current technology is not accurate enough to give people the information they need to be informed. You've come up with another technology that will do better.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sorry. Oh,
Oh.
did you have-
So then you're targeting specifically people who are already self-motivated to be really fit, for whom information, very accurate information, is the only obstacle to their fitness.
Well, okay, so let's take the bioimpedance scale that tells you body fat percentage, right? So if you're going to use that, it's typically going to be because you want to track progress. Hey, I'm trying diet plan A or exercise plan B, and I want to see if it's actually working, right? But if the way that you measure that is totally flawed, how are you really going to know if it's working or not. Therefore, it serves no value to you. And so,
Thank you. Good job.
thank you. And so the bioimpedance and the bioimpedance analysis is very flawed. I mean, within one day, it's based off of your hydration, or your hydration can drastically affect the results from that. So essentially, within an hour time period, you wake up dehydrated, step on the scale, give you one reading. Throughout the course of an hour, drink, a half liter of water, and it'll give you a totally different reading at the end of that hour when your body fat percentage has not actually changed. And so the way that you measure progress, if it's flawed, you're not comparing apples to apples, you're comparing apples to cats.
Say those two sentences at the beginning of your presentation.
Thank you. I will remember that.
Hi, could you go back to your milestones again? I would kind of repeat what she just said in terms of your description is very conceptual and not very specific as to what your product is or what you're planning to do. So I would, from a just MVP, what does your MVP got to look like? You've said that you've gone through a process, expended your own resources, and it's not there yet. So what does your MVP need to get to milestone 1? What's it going to cost to do that? Because you said you're already looking for funding. Mm-hmm. The beta testing and personal trainers, I can see that, from a timeline perspective, I think you need to not only identify how much it's going to take to get there and who's going to contribute to that. Is it your own personal time and funds, or is it others? The beta testing's got to fall in between finalists in the Minnesota Cup. Well, I think applications are due in May, so you've got, that's a hard deadline of you've got to have your application in before you make it to finalist. So just as far as your plan, I think you need to clarify your plan a little bit further and articulate what it is you're bringing to market. Even if it's a visual, kind of a conceptual, for us to see what you're doing, and here's the competition, here's what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it better because of X, Y, and Z. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So I have to ask, what brought you here today? What were you hoping to gain by presenting to this community of people? I mean, what, besides just talking about your idea, were you looking for the community to actually provide you with some sort of direction or a way to take you to the next level, I guess? And if so, what does that look like? How can we help?
Great question. So I'm going to kind of break that up a little bit. So I believe it was Saturday night, I applied to 1 million cups, and thinking that, okay, I'm going to need to start working on my presentation for investors, and so I think 1 million cups is going to be a great opportunity. And yesterday morning I get a call from Austin, hey, can you present tomorrow? And I called him back thinking there's no, it's way too short a notice, I'm going to call him and tell him I can't do it. Then after talking with him, like, you know what, why not, let's give it a shot. So I kind of chopped together a presentation, tried to rehearse as much as I could before tonight. And so to directly answer your question of what were you looking to get out of presenting today, I mean, just a little bit of experience. I mean, this is really my first experience in giving any kind of presentation for my company. And so I figured, why not take this opportunity?
So you went to practice pitching?
Yes.
So you're looking for feedback on your pitch?
Yes, thank you for that. Yes, that would be a very concise way to put it. Is I definitely want feedback, because it seems a lot of the feedback that I'm getting is I'm not fully grasping what you mean like this. You're leaving out this, you're vague about that. That's exactly the type of information that I need, because it's very hard for me, because my understanding of it is the size of this room, and to try to condense it down into something this big is very challenging for me to be very concise, especially in a 6-minute window.
So there might be a question in here. I just want to just give you a point that I've struggled with. I've been in your shoes before. I'm also a guy with a fitness background. So you start, you're the expert, right? You're the fitness expert. You go 10 years down this massive road of information, and then at the end of it, you find this one piece, the one thing that everybody is missing out on. It's the one thing that you've discovered that everybody's missing. And from that point, it's kind of a battle to move backwards. So you have to take this piece of information and then funnel it back through all your years of experience to present it to the average person that doesn't know what the hell you're talking about. And it's less of what the information is and more what can the person that knows absolutely nothing about fitness do with it, and why is it going to help them?
Thank you for that. And you're right. I mean, I guess to be less PC about it is I need to dumb it down, right? Which I do realize, and that's kind of what I've tried to do is simplify things and give the concept across. Initially when I launch the product, it's going to be to personal trainers because they'll instantly see it, recognize it, see value in it, and
That's a good piece of information to have that you're marketing to personal trainers and not people trying to lose weight.
Thank you. Okay, note to self, include that within the presentation.
Just the question I was going to ask.
Just one additional comment on the front end. Explain to us your subject matter expertise in this. What's your background? I didn't get that from the idea or from the early stage. So, it's not a question. It's just more of a explain to your audience why you know what you know, and what your experience is that you found this opportunity. So.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna let him go because he's been raising his hand like every time. Here, I can just.
Well, I was also going to ask the question about who was your customer. Is it the personal trainer or is it the personal trainer's customer? So that is a really good piece of information, and then that kind of gives a picture about how the revenue stream would work, I guess. How is the personal trainer going to benefit? Will he be able to benefit financially somehow by working with his customer?
Yes, that is the goal. So it's kind of twofold. So utilizing personal trainers as my initial target market, it will benefit them in that I'm giving them a very unique tool to give them more valuable insight than any other tool out there can give them, so they can be of more value to their clients. And how I'm going to benefit from this is, one, there's no education needed for my target market. I don't need to educate the average consumer on how to utilize this product. They instantly understand it, see value in it. But in addition to that, they will help me develop the user experience, the user interface, essentially help me, beta test it, quote unquote, so that, it's mutually beneficial. They're gaining from it. I'm gaining insight on how to refine the product to where its next phase or its next target market is going to be the end user. And so when that point comes about that I want to launch it to the end user, I should have a very polished up product. But in addition to that, the average consumer hopefully should see the professionals, the personal trainers, already utilizing this tool. So now it's this tool of the professionals that's now available to the average person. Hopefully that.
We have time for one more question, so let me bring you the microphone, if you will.
Here, I can help.
That's fine.
I've talked already. He had a question.
We're trying to record your question.
I think I have a question around the machine learning you talked about. Are you looking to build like a software as a service platform online to send that data, or how do you hope to accomplish that?
Yep. Yeah. That's it.
So the device is going to send data to the cloud, and you're going to process that. Okay.
Exactly. Take all this data, utilizing AI/machine learning, develop the algorithms needed to make all the correlations necessary to just take in all this data out there. Because there's so many like wearables. There's all this data that's available out there, and nobody's really doing anything of value with it yet. And that's where the future is definitely at.
Perfect. Well, another round of applause for Ryan and DOI Health.
Thank you, everyone.